Alright guys, so right now I'm talking about the Alienware M16 R2. You can tell that this is the R2 because that little back area is missing. It's not sticking out like it did before. So this is a semi-new design for this year. It's following the same design language, but it's more or less a different product than the M16 R1. That was meant to be more of a high performing chip. You could get like a 4080 and maybe even a 4090. I don't remember on that, but this is limited to only a 4070 and the Intel Core Ultra 7 or the Core Ultra 9. So this is meant to be more along the lines of a more portable gaming laptop, and it kind of gets away with it. It's a little bit heavier than the Razer Blade 16 that I've used, and especially the new G16 2024 model. But and I'll get into this a little bit more in the video, I think it strikes a good balance of being thick while also being portable and then also giving you good performance, thermals, etc. Of course, I'm going to get into all those details, but first, we got to start off with the build and the design. So, this is something, if Frank Azor was still working at Alienware, he would be very proud of this design. I really, really like it. I love the embossed 16 logo here. This alien head is RGB, and you can change it to whatever color you want in the Alienware Command Center software. And the metal, really high quality metal. This feels just as good as the new G16 and also the Razer Blade. It's a really, really high quality metal. And you got really nice rubber feet all the way throughout here, and the way it's designed, so it's meant to push airflow out in a certain direction. You got the typical honeycomb styling that you always get with Alienware laptops. And yeah, the speakers at the back. And let's look at some of the ports. I was just kind of playing around with that. You're actually getting an Ethernet port on this, which you don't see in thinner light laptops, and a headphone jack. And on the other side, you're getting two USB Type A ports and a micro SD card slot. And then at the back, you're getting a Thunderbolt port, a USB Type C that supports display ports, so you can actually hook up two different monitors to this. Plus you have HDMI, so you can hook up three monitors to this, which is awesome. And then you got the power. And the charging cable is really nice too. Unfortunately, it's not Alienware branded, it's Dell branded, but it's a nice small 240 watt charger. So I want to talk about the ports really quickly, which I don't ever talk about in all of my laptops. Two things I don't like. I wish that the USB Type A ports weren't on the right. You get two of them. They could have put one on the left and one on the right. That would have made things a little bit easier. But for whatever reason, they decided not to do that. So if you're using a wired mouse, this cable is going to be in your way. And I have found myself bumping into it sometimes. And when I'm playing competitive shooters, that's just not good. I know we're in 2024 and most mouses are now wireless, so might not be a big deal to you, but just in case, just wanted to mention that. And the RJ45 or the Ethernet, I kind of wish they just put it at the back where a lot of these other ports are, and I love having these ports at the back because I can just make my setup look a lot tidier where you just got the power and all the display out. Alright, so now let's open up the lid. Really easy to open with one hand. Oh, before I do that, and I don't know if you noticed, I've been touching this laptop and such, and I haven't really been seeing much fingerprints. I can see fingerprints, yes, but they are not sticking to this laptop chassis like most other laptops do with a darker metal finish. So really good job, Alienware. I still can't get over the fact that Apple touted having like a space black laptop, and first of all, that laptop's not black and you still get fingerprints on it. This, I feel like, is doing a better job. Anyway, rant over on that. So let's open up the lid, and you're greeted to this beautiful keyboard deck, and the high quality metal continues. There is no flex. You're not going to see any flex while you're typing, but very minimal flex. And I'm pretty sure this is the same high quality aluminum. It's hard to tell because there is a soft touch coating on top of it. If you've used like a Dell XPS, you may be familiar with that. So it's like a rubbery soft touch material, but it still feels like it's just a coating over this high quality metal. I have no problem with this build and design. And what I love about this is how robust it is. There's like barely any flex. I don't feel like this laptop will warp or get dented or anything. So if you're going to be putting this in a backpack and traveling with it, or if you're in college going to different classes, man, this'll last you. So anyway, one cool thing is this opens up all the way back. So if you are into that, That's always good. But anyway, so now let's look at this keyboard, and I love the RGB. It is full per key RGB, and the keycaps are nice and premium. Travel is a bit too short after coming from the Razer Blade 16 and even the new G16, which is a thinner and lighter laptop. I was a little bit disappointed in how shallow this key travel is. I was typing up some stuff on Word, and it was kind of just getting on my nerves. Like, I just wanted more travel, and I just wasn't getting it. I'm pretty sure it's something I could get used to, but not the end of the world. I would have really liked for them to have that Cherry MX switches that they'd have in some of their more premium Alienware laptops. That would have been nice to see. So I guess that's something I hope that they could improve on next year. And I like the layout of the function buttons and etc. And I really love that you have dedicated volume buttons and a mute button and a microphone mute button. Very, very convenient. And I know I'm going to miss this when I move on to other laptops. So the trackpad is really nice too. I like the way it glides. I think it's made out of plastic. This is one of those few times where I can't tell if it's made out of glass or plastic. But usually if I can't tell, then more than likely it's just made out of plastic. But still though, I don't really have any issues with it. I like the RGB around it. Kind of a nice touch. So speakers, they support Dolby. I wish there was just more bass though. I think they sound good, but after hearing something like the ROG G16 2024 model, this can't really compete. But, I mean, I'm not disappointed with the sound. So let's talk about this display next, which is typically my favorite section. So in terms of the color gamut, almost standard, a little bit disappointing in certain areas. You're only getting 81% of Adobe RGB. So if you're a photographer, this might not be the one for you. And DCI-P3 is only 84. I feel like in 2024, we should be getting over 90% of DCI-P3. Actually, I'm going to say we should be getting 100% of DCI-P3. But, I mean, overall, this panel looks a lot better than it measures. So then let's take a look at what I actually measured, which is not something I typically do, but I want to showcase it for this particular video. So the red triangle is what the laptop is actually able to display. And as you can see, in terms of DCI-P3 is the blue one. So that one goes a little bit further on top for the greens. But if you look at the reds and the blues, they're actually, it pretty much covers everything. So the 82% that you're losing is in the greens. So in most situations, this looks just as vibrant and as beautiful to look at as most other screens. But I started playing Horizon Forbidden West, and at the beginning of the game, there's a lot of foliage. And you can kind of see, especially when comparing to some of the other laptops I've been using, those greens look a little bit duller than I am used to seeing. It is not the best out there in terms of the color gamut. Anyway, brightness, another area that might be an issue. But for some reason, like I said, this looks better than what I was expecting. But I can't keep making excuses for this laptop. 330 nits of brightness. So that alone, I could just expect people to be clicking off of the video already, because this is the only display option. There's no mini LED option. There's no OLED option. This is the only screen that you're getting. I've been using this laptop for a full month, and only 2 nights ago, I decided to run the measurements on it before I started reviewing it, and I was actually surprised. I thought everything about the screen would have measured better. So this is one of those few times where the measurements didn't really line up with my expectations. But I mean, there's all the things that I'm not able to measure for right now, and one of them is the response time. The response time is incredibly fast. Dell chose this display for gaming. It really shows up when you're playing fast-paced shooters. So before getting to the performance, there's some quality of life additions to this laptop that I like. So when you press one button, it switches this to silent mode, or stealth mode as they call it. So what it does is it changes the keys to all white, and the Alienware logo turns off, and it brings the fans down to a complete stop. And that is one of the good things about this laptop. If you want it to be silent, it can be silent, and for the most part, it will stay silent. And I keep on thinking about like this being like the perfect laptop for someone who is in college or university, and you got to take your laptop to the library. Not only are you getting the Core Ultra chip, so you guaranteed to have like 8 to 9 hours of battery life, so that could get you through the entire day. I've only been playing in balance mode because I've been getting roughly the same performance, like a few frames here and there. But this laptop actually remains very quiet when you're in balance mode, and I'm able to run every single game, and I'm getting pretty much the entire power out of the RTX 4070 and even the Core Ultra 7 processor in here. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and it has not been worth it to go to overdrive or performance mode to deal with the extra fan noise. I mean, you do get better temps, but I'm okay with the temps the way they are. And speaking of the temps, just like any other laptop, the Core Ultra 7 in this chassis can push the full 45 watts. And when that happens, you get to like the mid 90s in terms of the temperature, which honestly for me, that's what I expect. That's not bad at all. And there's no vapor chamber, nothing crazy going on here, just traditional fans and copper pipes. And the GPU, like this says that it's rated for 140 watts, but the RTX 4070 never pushes 140 watts. It maxes out at 115, and even going from like 100 to 115 watts, you don't really get any performance benefits from that. But anyway, when this GPU is running at the full 115 watts, the GPU is like, it was max, I've been seeing 80, but it's usually in the high 70s, and that's on balance mode. You get better thermals when you go to performance and overdrive. So in case you are worried about temperatures, those different presets are available to you. With that out of the way, let's go into the performance. And this is going to be kind of boring because this performs like a 4070. That's one thing about testing 4070s is they seem to perform the same in just about every single laptop that I test. So if you're looking at older laptops, this performs pretty much identical to the 3070 Ti with a 12800HX. But because of this chip, you're getting a much more efficient CPU. So like I said, you're able to get like a full 8-9 hours on battery, and you get fairly decent performance on battery too. Compared to the G16 2024 with the Core Ultra 9 and the 4070, as you can see, you're not seeing much of a benefit by going with the Core Ultra 9 versus the Core Ultra 7, at least when you're comparing these two different laptops. So that's something to keep in mind. GPU is performing about the same between the two of them. And even when I had the 4070 last year with the Legion 7i with the 13900HX, of course you're getting better CPU on that 13900HX because it's a more powerful CPU, but with the 13900HX, you can't get better than 3 to 4 hours of battery life. And then when I ran Modern Warfare 3, unfortunately I changed the methodology in which I was testing. I can't really compare it to the 4070 that I had on the G16 2024 model, but compared to the 4090, I'm getting 148 versus 178 FPS. So this thing is performing really well on its own. And like I mentioned before, this is running on the extreme preset. If you lower the settings, like I'm usually when I'm playing a competitive shooter like Overwatch or Call of Duty, I'm playing on the lowest possible settings. So with that, you're gonna be able to get like 200 FPS easily. So Dying Light 2, one of the newest games I started testing, it's doing a little bit better than the 4070 G60, probably because those extra watts are able to push a little bit more. But I mean, not too big of a difference though. Next, Horizon Zero Dawn, which I have a whole bunch of games that I tested that on. So as you can see, it's pretty much identical to the G16 2024 with that 4070 at all resolutions. But one thing I gotta remind you guys on with that G16 4070 is it was incredibly loud to push out the same performance as this. Because this is a thicker machine, you're able to get better thermals and a much quieter experience when you're gaming while getting the same frame rates. So that's one of the trade-offs you'll have to make if you go with the G16 or if you go with the M16. A heavier and thicker laptop versus a thinner and lighter laptop, you're getting the same performance, but that noise could be enough of a deal breaker for you. And a lot of the comments I saw from that G16 2024 model was people could not stand the fan noise. Since the 4070 kind of performs the same across the board, for Guardians of the Galaxy, I wanted to do things just a tiny bit different, so I pulled up a whole bunch of older laptops to see how this compares to some of those, since I can imagine some of you might be upgrading from some of those. I even included the Alienware M16 3070 Ti model that I had a while back, and some of the other 3080 Ti models, etc. So yeah, just have a look, and hopefully this is helpful. And another thing I forgot to mention is that this laptop doesn't get too hot physically to the touch when you're gaming on it, so I was able to just plug in my PlayStation 5 controller and then just game at nighttime before going to bed with this laptop, and I haven't been using my Steam Deck anymore because obviously this is a much better experience, and I had no problems with it. You can't do that with most other gaming laptops. So I think this laptop strikes a really good balance between its physical size and its thermals. I just wish the speakers were a little bit better, and I definitely wish that there were better display options out there. If I didn't cover anything in particular, leave me a comment. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more like this, subscribe, etc. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, bye.